Everyone, it's a privilege to stand before you today and share something very personal to me, my favorite scriptures. Scripture is more than just words on a page. For many of us, it's a source of comfort, strength, direction, and hope. In my life, there are a few verses that have shaped the way I think, pray, and live, and I'd like to share them with you today. In life, we all encounter moments that test our strength, whether it's a personal struggle, a difficult decision, or a time of deep uncertainty. During these moments, we often search for something to hold on to, something that gives us the motivation to keep going. For me, Scripture has always been that source of encouragement and strength. Among all the verses I've read, one stands out in particular when I need to be reminded that I'm not alone in my battles. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This verse may be short, but its message is incredibly powerful. It tells me that I am not expected to face life's challenges on my own. When I feel overwhelmed, tired, or unsure of myself, I remember that Christ gives me strength, not just emotional strength, but a deeper, spiritual strength that helps me endure and overcome. It shifts my perspective from "I can't do this" to "I can, but not by myself." That difference has helped me through some of the hardest moments in my life. There have been times when I've felt like giving up, on goals, on relationships, or even on myself. But when I go back to this scripture, I am reminded that Christ's strength is made perfect in my weakness. In other words, it's okay to feel weak, because that's when His power truly shows up. This is not about pretending to be strong all the time. It's about recognizing that real strength comes from relying on God and trusting that He will carry us when we can't walk on our own. What I love most about this verse is that it applies to every part of life. Whether I'm facing a major life decision, going through a season of grief, or simply trying to live out my faith each day, this verse remains true. It gives me confidence to face the unknown and courage to take on challenges I might otherwise avoid. It reminds me that I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be willing to trust in the one who is. I've seen how this verse has not only helped me, but also others around me. Friends who have faced illness, family members going through loss, and even strangers I've met at church have found this scripture to be a lifeline. It unites us in the shared truth that God doesn't leave us to fight our battles alone. He equips us, strengthens us, and walks with us every step of the way. In moments of doubt and exhaustion, returning to this scripture has always brought me back to a place of peace and purpose. It reminds me that I am capable, not because of my own power, but because Christ is in me, giving me all I need to persevere. That's why this verse is more than just a favorite. It's a foundation I lean on when I need strength the most. There are times in life when everything feels uncertain. Plans fall apart, doors close unexpectedly, and we're left wondering what's next. In those moments, it's easy to feel anxious or discouraged. That's when I turn to one of my favorite scriptures, Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." This verse has become a steady source of reassurance for me, reminding me that even when I don't understand what's happening, God does. What makes this verse so powerful is that it speaks directly to our deepest need for security and direction. As human beings, we like to feel in control. We want to know what's coming next, but the reality is we don't always get that clarity right away. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds me that even in times of confusion, there is a divine plan at work, one that is good, hopeful, and full of purpose. It's important to remember that this verse was originally spoken to the Israelites during a time of exile. They were far from home, uncertain of their future, and likely questioning why they were going through such hardship. And yet, God's message to them was one of hope. He didn't promise immediate relief, but he did promise that their suffering wasn't the end of the story. That's what makes this verse so meaningful. It's not about instant solutions, but about trusting in the long-term faithfulness of God. In my own life, there have been times when things didn't go the way I expected. I've experienced disappointments that felt like setbacks, but with time, I've often seen how those situations led to something better, something I couldn't have planned for myself. Looking back, I can see how God was weaving everything together, even the hard parts, to shape me and guide me towards something greater. This verse reminds me to hold on to that bigger picture, especially when the present feels confusing. What comforts me most about this promise is that it comes directly from the heart of God. He's not guessing about our future. He knows it, and not only does he know it, but he has good plans for us. That doesn't mean life will be free from struggle, but it does mean that struggle is never wasted. Every challenge we face is part of a journey that leads to growth, transformation, and deeper faith. So whenever I feel uncertain about my future, I go back to this verse. It tells me that I am not forgotten, that my life has meaning, and that even in the waiting, God is working. That assurance gives me peace. It helps me to let go of fear and choose trust instead. No matter what lies ahead, I can face it with confidence, knowing that God's plans for me are filled with hope. In a world that often feels chaotic, fast-paced, and uncertain, peace can seem hard to come by. We all carry burdens, whether it's stress from school or work, pain from broken relationships, or fear about the future. In those moments, it's natural to search for something or someone who can offer rest, security, and calm in the storm. For me, that comfort is found in the presence of God, especially through the words of Psalm 23, 1 asterisk, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This simple verse carries a depth of peace that has calmed my heart many times. The imagery of a shepherd is powerful. A shepherd is someone who knows his sheep, cares for them, and leads them with patience and protection. He stays close, guiding them through both gentle pastures and dangerous valleys. That's exactly how God works in our lives. When I read this verse, I'm reminded that I am not wandering through life alone. I am being led by someone who sees the full path even when I don't. There is deep peace in knowing that God is watching over me, especially during the times when I feel lost or afraid. Life doesn't always go as planned. We face illness, grief, disappointment, and fear. But even in the darkest moments, God is present. Psalm 23 goes on to say, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." That's not just poetic language. It's a promise that no matter how deep the valley, God walks through it with us. His presence becomes our refuge. Peace in God's presence doesn't mean the absence of problems. It means that in the middle of the problem, we can experience calm because we know who is in control. I've experienced this personally, times when I should have been panicked or overwhelmed, but instead felt a quiet strength and assurance that God was near. It's something that can't be fully explained, but it can absolutely be felt. It's the kind of peace that Philippians 4:7 describes as surpassing all understanding. Another comforting part of this psalm is the phrase, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters." These images bring to mind rest, refreshment, and care. In a busy, noisy world, God invites us to slow down, breathe, and rest in His presence. When I take time to pray, read His Word, or simply sit in silence with Him, I find that my worries begin to shrink and my perspective changes. I'm reminded that I'm not responsible for carrying everything alone. God's presence brings peace that the world cannot offer. It is steady, unchanging, and always available. Whether we're in a season of joy or sorrow, His nearness offers a calm that anchors our hearts. That's why Psalm 23 remains one of my favorite scriptures. It reminds me that peace is not found in perfect circumstances, but in the presence of a perfect shepherd who walks with me every step of the way. Faith is a deeply personal journey. While it's something that can be shared in community, its most powerful impact often happens quietly, within the heart of each individual. For me, my connection to faith has been shaped by specific scriptures that speak directly to my life experiences. These verses are not just texts I've memorized or heard preached from a pulpit. They have become living truths that have helped guide, comfort, and inspire me. Through them, I've developed a more intimate, personal relationship with God. One of the most meaningful aspects of having favorite scriptures is how they speak differently to us depending on the season we're in. A verse that gave me courage in the past might give me peace today. This changing relevance makes Scripture feel alive, like God is speaking to me personally through His Word. For instance, when I've faced moments of doubt or failure, I've turned to scriptures like Isaiah 41:10, which says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you." Reading that verse in a quiet moment of prayer has felt like hearing a reassuring whisper in the middle of chaos. That kind of connection is deeply personal. It's more than belief, it's relationship. The more I engage with the Bible, the more I see it as a way God communicates uniquely with me. There are times when I've been struggling with something I couldn't even put into words, and I've opened the Bible to find a verse that seems to speak directly to that situation. It's in those moments that I truly feel seen and known by God. That sense of being understood, of having your worries, hopes, and questions acknowledged, is what strengthens my personal faith. It reminds me that God is not distant or silent. He is present and deeply involved in my life. My personal connection to faith also grows stronger when I reflect on how far God has brought me. When I revisit the verses that have carried me through difficult times, I'm reminded of His faithfulness. I see how His Word has been a steady light in seasons of darkness. Scriptures like Romans 8:28, which says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him," have helped me trust that nothing in my life is wasted, not the pain, not the waiting, not the confusion. That belief shapes how I view the world and how I respond to challenges. Ultimately, having a personal connection to faith through Scripture helps me grow in trust, humility, and hope. It reminds me that my walk with God is not about following rules or performing rituals. It's about relationship. It's about listening for His voice, seeking His presence, and leaning on His promises. The verses that have touched my heart are more than favorites. They are spiritual anchors that have helped me build a faith that is real, strong, and deeply personal.